Welcome, everyone, to the Township Future Speaker Series tonight on December the 5th. We appreciate all of you joining us tonight. We have a very exciting program for you. We have several members of the Township Board of Directors who will give us the State of the Union, the Woodlands, which we've been looking forward to all year to get a recap of everything that's happened in the Woodlands to now. And also, we're going to look forward. Our guests are going to give us a little snippet of what we might expect to see in the future, what's coming in 2024 for the Woodlands. So tonight, we're very honored to have Dr. Ann Snyder, who's the chairman of the board of the Woodlands Township, with us. Kyle Watson, who's the vice chairman of the board of the Woodlands Township, and also Brad Bailey, who is a director on the township, the chairman of the group Visit the Woodlands. So the three of the directors are going to give us the State of the Union, and we're going to have Walter introduce each of our panelists. And then what we'll do is have each of the panelists give us a little bit of information relative to what the State of the Union of the Woodlands actually is. We do want to take your questions, so please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of our presentation, Walter will read the questions to our panelists, and we'll have a little discussion as it relates to that. I know it's December, and I know we're in the holiday season, so we really do appreciate you folks taking the time to be with us tonight. Remember that we will record this and post this on our website, so those of you who are here are getting the first run presentation. So without any further ado, I'm going to go to my co-host, Walter Cook, who's going to introduce our panelists.
Thank you, Ted, and good evening, everyone. First panelist tonight is Dr. Ann K. Snyder. Wave, Ann, so the viewing audience knows who you are. She's paying attention to me like she always does. In other words, not at all. Ann and her family have been in the Woodlands for 34 years, and Ann was first elected to the Township Board in 2015. Her most recent paid work was with United Woodlands Methodist Church, where she was on the ministry staff, and probably most of us remember her when she was president and CEO of Interfaith for many years. She is on countless profit and nonprofit boards. She has a bachelor in science and education from Colorado State University, a master's in education from the University of Missouri, and a doctorate from Baylor. She's the recipient of many awards, both local and national. And she has her husband, Jerry, 2 adult children, son-in-law, 6 grandchildren, and she even has a CISD school named after her, Ann K. Snyder Elementary School. So welcome, Ann.
Thank you.
Next up is Brad Bailey. Brad is currently Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and External Affairs for S&B Engineers and Constructors. And before that, he ran a family network of family-owned restaurants. He's been on the board since what? Was that last year?
1 year.
22. And he serves both on the board and is chairman of Visit the Woodlands, which is the DBA for what is it, the Woodlands Tourist and Convention Bureau. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Whose goal is to promote the Woodlands as a great place to visit and spend money. And he served on numerous committees, particularly with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, where he was Rookie of the Year in 2019. He went to Kilgore College, where he was the voice of the Kilgore College Rangerettes, which must be a unique experience, and completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Mississippi with major in marketing and finance. He's married to Kim, who is a native of the Woodlands, and they have 3 children and are active in the Woodlands Methodist Church. And last but certainly not least is Kyle Watson. Kyle is a lawyer. He's a homegrown boy, grew up in Montgomery County, graduated from Conroe High School, and went to Baylor for a Bachelor of Business Administration, and got his law degree from the South Texas College of Law. He's a business and commercial litigator with Winstead in the Woodlands, and he's also the head of the Winstead office. He also attends the Woodlands Methodist Church. I don't know, we may look and see if everybody goes to the same service, is that a violation of open.
The quorum.
And he serves on numerous committees and boards for local charities. His wife, he has been married to his wife, Sarah, for 22 years, and they have 3 lovely daughters here in the Woodlands. So those are our panelists, and I think, according to my notes, Dr. Snyder is first up tonight. So take it away, Ann.
Okay, well, thank you for your kind words about all 3 of us, Mr. Cook. And it's so nice to be with you all this evening. You know, when you first reached out, the State of the Union, where we've been and where we're going, I thought it would be good to start at the beginning of this year. With 4 new board members, we all felt, and they all ran on the premise of collaboration, being strategic, economic development, as well as other things that you'll hear this evening. So it made me go back and look, what are we most proud of? What have we accomplished? The State of the Union. So I'll go back to the very beginning of 23. In January, the board agreed to re-engage, reinstitute the Economic Development Committee. In February, we also reinstated the One Water Task Force, as well as created a village association for our presidents to all meet, all the village presidents to meet and be together. Fast forward the spring, one of the things that I know Director Bailey and Director Watson will discuss is our legislative initiatives, House Bill 5311, that we worked with both Senator Creighton and Representative Toth. June brought the first ever homestead exemption. July, the community comprehensive community service agreement and the conveyance of the waterway. August 2024 budget, which we will visit about and discuss later on this evening. In September, the TxDOT grant, something that staff had worked on to connect 1488 to Harper's Landing, Ted, since I believe 2006. And we were very excited about that, and we'll go into more detail. October, we kicked off our 50th anniversary celebration. Our fire department turned 50 years. And now we're here in the great month of December, holiday celebration, and that shows what we as a board have accomplished, in addition to several other items that we will address. And with that, we'll turn it over to Brad and Kyle to address some of these, and I'll take up whatever they defer to me. So it is, if that's all right with you, Mr. Cook and Mr. Stanley.
Sounds great to us, Dr. Snyder.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ann. There's really a lot that we can talk about, and I will talk in general before kind of passing it off to Brad. But one of the things that was so important to us is to come in and try to hit the ground running. I think all of us would agree that 2-year terms is too short. At least those of us who are on the board. It's unfortunate that there's a learning curve and you're drinking from a fire hose when you first come on, and then around the time you start to really feel like you have a handle on what's going on, you got to start thinking about, are you going to do this again? Do you have to run? Do you have to fundraise? All the things that are really not a fun part of being a director. So we wanted to try to tackle as much as we could in a short period of time, and we all have different backgrounds, and all have different strengths. I'm more of a problem solver every day, and so I like to be confronted with a problem and then try to figure it out. Brad has such an amazing background, having worked in government before, and also really knowing his way around Austin. So knowing that a legislative session was right on top of us, Brad really took the lead on looking at what we can do And we were told that that wasn't going to be possible, that it was very difficult to get things done because it would require us to open up and expose our enabling legislation. So I'll kind of let Brad talk about the legislative accomplishments that we've done, because I felt like I was walking through the halls with, Elvis down there.
So did I.
And we had great
Brad
lobbyists,
knew everyone.
and our lobbyists did a fantastic job. But Brad was the straw stirring the drink, so to speak, down there. So Brad, why don't you hit on what we accomplished legislatively?
Yeah, so I think a big part of it is we were able just to kind of band together and look at opportunities actually on the campaign trails, where we kind of realized that mixed beverage taxes were being collected in the Woodlands. However, they weren't staying in the Woodlands, they were just going all up to the state. And that just didn't seem right. We obviously sell a lot of mixed beverages here in the Woodlands. You can look at our sales taxes and our retail establishment, hotels, and judge that. But we went in and kind of rolled our sleeves up, worked with Representative C. Toth and Senator Brandon Creighton, and really kind of looked into the matter, and found that with the legislative session starting in January, that if we were in a hurry and could get our ducks in a row, that this could work. So we actually had the bill written and turned around within like 3 to 4 weeks, and presented I think in February, around that time frame. Mm-hmm. And started pushing it. And the mixed beverage tax is a game changer for us, because we identified over $1 million of tax revenue that is being collected. It's not a tax that's being assessed. It's something that if you have a mixed beverage license, you pay on. It's built into the price of your drink. And over $1 million is now staying in the Woodlands as of October this year. So that's a huge number for us. We're really excited about that. All that money can go to public safety or wherever we'd like it. But I think public safety is a great place for it to stand with. But being told so many times that you cannot change our enabling legislation, you cannot do that. We've heard that over and over again. We did that in the first 6 months. So that's a big plus. Also included in that bill is economic development zone for tourism, in which hotels can do a self-assessment on hotel taxes up to 2%, and that could bring up another $1.5 million to go straight toward tourism and marketing efforts for our tourists and visitors coming into the Woodlands. And so we're still kind of working through getting all those hotels signed up. You got to kind of go through a 3-step process to get that done. But these are 2 things that were championed and done by our board. The Economic Development Tourism Zone was started by the previous Visit the Woodlands board, who I commend for thinking outside the box on that. It's a great tool for us to use, and something that's really going to make a big difference in our community. So passing that bill is a big deal. We want to get Governor Abbott to come down and have a mixed beverage here in the Woodlands and see what it brings here. So,
yeah. And Brad, I'm sure, can speak to how well we're doing here in our economy and things with tourism. But we had all talked about some of the decline in some of the centers that has gone on, especially in the older areas, Grogan's Mill and Panther Creek, and that was very important to us as well. So, inside the Economic Development Committee and those of us on the board really tried to leverage our relationships to get the folks involved that might have an economic interest in doing something. And as everyone knows, at Grogan's Mill, that turned out to be a deal with the county and with Howard Hughes. The Woodlands Township hasn't played a role in that as of yet, because there's still quite a bit to happen there. But we anticipate having a role with helping with that center and public space in that center that may also be used with the farmers market. So we're excited about the future of that center, and hope that will also help serve as a catalyst for some changes at other centers, including Panther Creek.
And so if we're looking at the 2024 budget, one of the priorities of the board was to be very transparent and also fiscally sound. We're fortunate that our hotel and sales tax revenues fund 54% of the total budget. Only 29% is from property taxes, which we take great pride in that. Other programs such as grants, transportation, fares, interest, etc., and programs fund the remaining 17%. But what is something that has also enabled us is we have AA+ bond rating, which indicates our township bonds are of excellent investment quality and the highest bond rating awarded for a special purpose district in the state of Texas. So we continue to maintain a strong reserve balance, which enables us to address the amenities and the needs of the Woodlands, which is many.
Yep. And I will say to those points, with that success, it lessens the tax burden on the residents and on the businesses. And this was real important for Director Bailey, and he really championed a homestead exemption.
Yes.
And we were able to do one without shifting the burden to the businesses. And we had a no new revenue rate meet, which was unusual for governing entities and municipalities this last year. So Brad, you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, really, we're really blessed. And I think for some time, our sales taxes are at record levels. Our hotel occupancy taxes are at record levels. Some of our use tax, like for example, the Pavilion is one of the highest grossing. It's the #1 amphitheater in the world. So there's a ticket tax on that as well that goes to it. So that drives in a lot of visitors. But just to give you some stats here, at our last board meeting at the end of the month in November, sales taxes were up over 9.5% over 2022. Hotel occupancy taxes were up over 12.5 or 12.3% over 2022. Those are huge numbers, but over 60% of our budget that we have comes from sales tax and hotel occupancy taxes. That's taking the tax burden off the residential plays that you're seeing. So many property taxes drive cities. We're the exact opposite, and I think that's a testament to the way that we were designed by George Mitchell and his team to having a lot of our areas, our village centers, to our commercial areas in town center, the mall, Market Street looks like Rodeo Drive now. It's truly remarkable to see how they're doing. So those are some big numbers. But with that, we're seeing also having some excess funds in the general fund. So we looked at how can we keep our no new revenue rate and our AAA bonding at that level. That's a non-negotiable. But how can we give the taxpayers some of their money back? We have never had a homestead exemption here in the Woodlands for residential. This year, and the board had a pretty vigorous debate on this, which I think is healthy. I think it's good. We talked through it a lot, but we got 3% this year. That means over $800,000 of tax revenues being returned to homeowners. I think that's a big number that helps, something we can grow on. But seeing our sales tax numbers grow, seeing our property tax, our hotel occupancy taxes grow is something that's real promising and is a great position to be in. You look at a lot of our neighbors around us; they're not experiencing the same trends. They really aren't. It's truly remarkable. Also, I think what they call the Amazon bill that passed a few sessions ago is helping us. So every time you're ordering Amazon or anything that's being delivered to your house, you're paying sales taxes where you order that from versus the call center that's being transporting it or the warehouse. So that was a kind of a game changer to a lot of people. And I don't know about y'all streets. My Amazon's all over my street. I think they drive these streets more than we do.
Well, and I think what's important to note here that we've done all this and our debt balance has decreased 55% since 2017. We have in 2023 the lowest debt to capital ratio, second in the state. So we have not only done well as far as having higher sales and hotel tax revenues, but we've also been very fiscally responsible with regard to our debt balance as well.
And to add another kicker onto that, we were able to do those things and make those accomplishments while increasing our funding for public safety. We had 13 new officers come into Montgomery and Harris counties on our contracts. And we were able to increase our public safety and also focus on the original mindset and intent of this Woodlands forest by going into giving $1 million. Was it $1 million, Brad? Towards reforestation.
It was $1 million.
Towards
Somebody thought it was 1 million trees, but
yeah,
$1
because
million
of
is admirable.
yeah, because of the drought and just natural loss of trees, we've put an effort on reforestation, and that's been going on as well. And with respect to one thing I'm really proud of is this board's ability to have relationships with our community partners, not just developers, but those who play a huge role in our community, the pavilion, the owner's trade market, Market Street, Brookfield, the sheriff, county commissioner. I would say that at least the three of us, not a week goes by that we don't talk to some, if not all of those folks that are community partners. And we have those kind of relationships where it is cell phones and immediate responsiveness for anything that our constituents or our county partners need. And that is just, to me, extremely important that there is a good working relationship. I think it benefits the board, it benefits the township, it benefits all the residents. So, with respect to law enforcement, the county, the commissioners, everything, I'm just really proud of how quickly we've been able to build what I think are very productive relationships.
And I think along those same lines is we've agreed to disagree, to sit down at the table and meet with the various entities, but it's healthy to have good dialogue between all parties. But we would be remiss if we did not mention that we also ensured sufficient funding for the construction of Fire Station 5 and the renovation of the Emergency Training Center. Both contribute to the fire department's ISO rating 1. And that was also a priority, not only when we talk about public safety, not only our law enforcement adding the additional officers, but also our fire department to ensure that it also has what it needs to continue that rating.
Yeah, and this is really a prelude. There is a whole lot more. I think Monique Sharp and staff are kind of working on a year in review type documents. So Ted and Walter, be on the lookout for that. I think it'll be more substantive and have more detail. But as you can tell, there's been quite a lot in 23, and I think to shift into 24, there's still a lot of carryover and things that are moving. But as we look into 24, we'll start to see hopefully more happening with respect to amenities and changes with our parks, our rec, our pathways. As Ann indicated, there's a grant. And then I think there's one thing that's happening that we are focused on, and that is some of the outskirts of the Woodlands. We need to make sure they feel a part of the Woodlands. So Harper's Landing, we're looking at how to ensure that there is continuity there and with the pathways. And then in Creekside, they've been through quite a bit because they're dealing with a lot of development, a lot of issues with the school district there at Tomball ISD, and also, concerns about contracts with law enforcement, which they should have no concern about because that's a priority of this board, and we will ensure that that is not an issue. However, I think a lot of residents sometimes feel, especially those on the outskirts or in Creekside, that they have concerns about a disparate treatment, and that's a focus for us to make sure that they don't feel that way and that they're cared for too.
Yeah, we've really done a good job at focusing in on, I think, developing relationships where there were maybe some relationships when you get this job, you don't realize how many people that you're serving, but you don't know a lot of them. And establishing that relationship, I think we've seen several relationships bear fruit over the last year. But they see that we're not afraid to roll our sleeves up and get to work. And I think Creekside's a perfect example of that. You know, they had some issues with Centerpoint. We were able to contact Centerpoint's executives and bring a team in here, and those problems were being actively addressed, and they have new contacts to start getting a hold of and looked at. You know, we're working hard right now with Tomball ISD and moving the intermediate school out of Creekside, out of the Woodlands proper to Tomball, where kids would be required to be on the bus for over 10 hours a week. That's not a great thing. But I think what's great about the Woodlands is we roll up our sleeves and we find solutions. People can say you can't do this or you can't do that. We are a can-do community that just figures out a way. And I think we're seeing some of that happen in Creekside with the Tomball ISD effort. But it all goes back to what Kyle said earlier, is relationships matter. We got to develop relationships. People have got to put down their arms and start working together and figure out, because we're better together to fix a lot of these major problems that we face. We've got brilliant people in here that have solved major issues, CEOs of major corporations and scientists and doctors and philanthropy experts, and the list goes on, educators. How can we put our best and brightest minds together to fix some of these issues that we have in front of us? And for far too long, I think we've had a lot of people on the sidelines, and we're getting a lot of people, I think, invigorated to want to be a part of community, to be a part of the township. And I think that's something we need a lot more, not a lot less.
No, excellent point. And I think that goes back to in the very beginning with the 4 new board members, that one of the most critical elements was to be a board that would collaborate, would listen, would work together to agree to disagree and find the element that would tie us all or make good things happen. But another one that would like to is the Comprehensive Community Service Agreement. And in July of 2023, we amended the CCSA, the board did, which was set to expire at the end of 2023. And our agreement now goes to 12/31/28. But with that, the new agreement, we acquired title to a 208-acre tract on South Gosling for future recreational programs. We also acquired a 24, almost 25 tract of research forest behind the Bear Branch Recreation Center for Public Works, as well as a 2+ acre on Millennium Forest to address the growth of our parks and recreation building. And those were win-wins for everyone, having each one of those happen. We did with that release the boathouse parcel on Lake Robbins and returned it. But the other 3 were tracts of land that we needed. And we're excited to look at what we can do with the 208 acre tract off on South Gosling. So that will be exciting in the future for us to delve into. I'm sure the board has many opportunities to discuss and ideas on what can go on that track.
Sure. And you know, similarly, we took back ownership of the waterway from the development.
Mm-hmm. And that will also give us an opportunity, be it for activities, be it for improvements that we can address depending on community needs. I think too, and probably one that did not mention was, I think, Brad, you played on the courts when we dedicated the pickleball courts.
That's right. Nancy Becker smashed me with a hard pickleball that day.
I mean, that is fantastic. I think they're looking for more opportunities to have more of those types of facilities I was just out there on Sunday. You can't get a court. You need to reserve one if you want one, or be very patient in waiting because they stay used. They stay full out there. So.
Yep. So that's very exciting. But we would be remiss if we did not also applaud our leadership and staff at the Woodlands Township. We can set the strategic plan, but who carries it out is the wonderful staff and leadership that we have at the township. We're most fortunate.
For sure. Incredible.
I'd also just give a shout out. There's as far as the relationship front goes, Director Richard Franks came up with a great idea on the campaign trail of having a village presidents association, in which all of the village presidents come together. Ted, you sit on that association, and it's a great way to brainstorm ideas, where a lot of these village associations are experiencing a lot of the same problems, but it's a brainstorming. It's what makes Woodlands is great. We putting our heads together and figure things out. It was a new thing. It was something that he thought about, and to get more people active. And I think it's great. Additionally, Linda Nelson is just a great director. Her relationships across the township, across the county, are just incredible. We call her Landslide Linda because she won by such a big margin. But she's an incredible resource to tap into. She brings people in. She's one of the most selfless people that I've ever met. But a little unknown fact, before we all started getting into this, none of the four of us that ran, we never knew each other. We met, I met Kyle socially one time, but none of us knew each other. None of us really hung out, but we bring a different friend network, a different perspective to problems. We've all become very, very close. And then Ann's, she's been such a great help to kind of getting us, pointed in the right direction and getting us coached up on all the rules. And we got a lot of rules that we gotta follow. So,
well, I think that in itself, Brad, shows, because I did not know, I knew Linda, but other than that, did not know any of us either, and that we've learned to work together, and what is a priority. It's worked, and I think the accomplishments are vast. I really do. We're told that the mixed beverage tax could not happen, and I think the MO, and as Kyle mentioned you, Brad, I will too. You said, why not? I mean, let's try that. Let's see what can happen. And so hired our two lobbyists, went to Austin, and it worked. And so that a mixed beverage tax that was going, half of it was going to the state, is coming to us.
Yeah, and a lot of these things were reasons we were that certain folks thought couldn't be accomplished without being a city. And so we were able to show that in fact it could be done. So I think we're very proud of that. Forward looking, I think that in the next year or years to come, you'll start to hear about more things happening with respect to what's going to happen where the community library is, and we're excited about learning because we don't know either. But once that land swap goes through and Grogan's Mill gets going again, I think that'll be exciting to see what happens there. And then what the developer will choose to do with the library and community center space. I expect that to go down and become something totally different, which will be exciting for our whole community there. And then, I think everyone knows the township still owns this GE Betts building property that's now been leveled and demolished, and there's nothing there anymore. But I think it's important for us to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money and resources. And I know that Ann and Brad both feel that that's not something the township should just sit on because it has tremendous value. And that land will ultimately need to be put to use for the public benefit, be it either through the township or for sale to somebody else who would develop it into something that would generate revenue that benefits all the residents in the township. So we've heard about the Ritz-Carlton going in at the end. And I think there's going to be a lot of excitement about what ends up happening as that area gets developed, which it will be over time. You will hear probably of people that have interest in a performing arts center, as we've heard about as well. That was discussed previously in years past. And I think timing and cost and other things and COVID and different things may have derailed that, but certainly there's a potential for that to get some swell and support. So there are a lot of exciting things, and we are in such a good position for greatness.
And so in our 2024 budget, the board identified a non-property tax funding source that would allow us to move forward with the Performing Arts Center. And we did that. It would be using not property tax, but hotel tax, something like that, to allow us to, as a board, see if we cannot take the next step. I think we've talked about the Performing Arts Center as long as I can remember. It's been something that is, in my opinion, is a missing link in the Woodlands, and would be of great value for this community.
And something that George Mitchell had plans for. It was actually
That's right.
drawings were done. It was called the George. It was a really interesting concept, but I think it's something that our community needs. I think the board is united in looking at every opportunity that we have in that. It's going to be a great thing. It would be a great thing for addition to our community. I truly believe that.
Okay, Mr. Stanley or Mr. Cook, do you have questions or comments or things perhaps we have not covered?
Well, we do have several questions that I see it slotted, and Walter, we'll get to those in just a minute, but I just have one question for you guys, kind of a fluff question to kind of get us started. But if you had to describe the Woodlands, each of you, if you had to describe the Woodlands in one word, what would that word be?
Thriving.
Oh, wow. Stump me here.
Well, my friends say that I call it the Goodlands. It would be the best.
I mean, it's an oasis. I mean, it truly is. I tell people all the time, I work in the energy corridor, so I do a lot of driving through a lot of shady parts of Houston, and I can tell you when I hit that overpass and come in here, and it's just an incredible place. Having lived somewhere else too, I think is it makes me remember how appreciative I should be for this place. It's truly an oasis. I don't know how else to say that. So we've got a big charge to take care of it.
Good. Well, thank you guys. All right, let's get to some questions. I do have a few other questions, but since we have some from the audience, we want to make sure we cover those as well. And then I'll circle back around to mine afterwards. Walter?
Yeah, I was curious, has there been any update on the proposed expansion of the mall, the 80,000 square feet plus 2 hotels? Any update
Okay.
on that?
I will take that. I had a call from Brookfield recently, the latter part of last week. They will come to one of our February board meetings to give an update, to meet with board members and give an update.
Yeah, and we're excited about that. This mall is one of their top assets. And so, as everyone knows, the cost of construction and development has skyrocketed over the last year and a half. So I think it probably pushed their timeline back some, but we're looking forward to hearing about where they are and where they're headed.
I have a question. Where is this? What is it? 300 acres, 200 acres on South Gosling? About where is that? I'm trying to picture.
If you're going over
my mind.
If you're going over the bridge, South Gosling,
yeah,
right when you hit Harris County, over Spring Creek, it's everything on your left, all the way to across the street from Woods Edge Church.
Wow.
So it's a huge tract of land, mostly all in the floodplain, but there's amazing trails and things like that, outdoor activities that you could do there. So it's a great space that kind of highlights our natural forest setting.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, Walter, the 208 acres, that is 1/4 the size of Central Park in New York. Town Green, that we all have lots of festivals at, is 4 acres. North Shore is almost 8. our village parks range from 10 to 15 acres. Rob Fleming is 20 acres. So this tract of land is 208 acres.
Yeah,
That has great potential.
and Walter, if you think about it, from about grade level at the road of Gosling, it's going to slope down to Spring Creek. So you'll be able to get a lot of use out of the higher ground there. And then it'll also afford use and access to trails and down into Spring Creek.
Yeah.
And you'll also have a parking element up top. So we're excited. I mean, it's all conceptual about the different possibilities down there right now, but it's quite a bit of land to work with.
All right, let's talk about director terms. Kyle, I think it was you who mentioned that 2 years is not enough. Is there some concrete plan to go back to the legislature and try to get our enabling statute amended and get 4-year terms, or excuse me, still in the talking stage?
I'm not aware of one now, but I would certainly support one, Walter.
And that would be something that the entire board would have, the majority would have to support. I concur with what Director Watson said. 2 years is not long enough. It just,
You just quit
first year,
campaigning and it's time to start again. So
Yeah, so I'll speak on that. I'm also in favor of that. But I'm also in favor of term limits. I think term limits are something that should be expanded, not just locally, but at the state level and at the federal level. And I think there's a good balance to say 4-year terms. The hard part on our community, Walter, that I'll tell you, and we hear this from a lot of our supporters, is every year someone's running. So every year people are having to raise money, and if it's our opposition or us or whoever it is, it's a costly endeavor on our community, and it's something that right when you get trained and get ready and you're on your feet, you're running for re-election again. And I can tell you, when election season happens, things get goofy on the township board at times. You start seeing posturing and political games and things like that. So, having a 4-year term, getting to work shoulder to shoulder with your fellow board members, getting not being in a fast forward pace, I think would also help staff a lot to be able to work with us, to educate us on things and be there for the long haul, because every year they don't know who's going to be their next board. So it's frustrating and something that we're going to look to. We've talked to our legislators a little bit about it. There's not been a lot of pushback, so I think that's good, but it's something that the whole board would have to weigh in, and I think I'd like to get some public comment on that as well.
as long as we're talking about amending the enabling legislation, are there any other specific proposals that you all are considering to run by the legislature in, what is that, 2025?
We haven't discussed that as of today.
Yeah, I can't think of anything right now. We're trying to get this current legislative session over.
Yeah, that's right. It's still ongoing and maybe for quite a while. Let's see, other questions. The Ritz-Carlton project, will that have to go through the DSC, Development Standards Committee, to get an approval?
I would be speaking out of school on that, Walter. I will just tell you, Howard Hughes property has its own special rules by design. And so, I don't know. I'm sure it'll be first class, but I do not know what their requirements will be in terms of the DSC.
All right, well, I'll find out an answer and get that to the people that are concerned about that. Get the answer to those who asked the question. Let's see. Let me look through here. We talked about the Performing Arts Center. Is there any particular landmark or point you're trying to get to in 2024? That, or is it still considering financing alternatives and costs and all those other factors?
Yeah, I think it's the latter, and they can weigh in on this as well. But it had advanced with prior boards to the point of getting some renderings, talking about some figures. This stuff is very complicated. You want a quality venue, but apparently it all depends on your acoustics, which means and how many seats you want, and you want to do it right because then the acts will come to you. But the construction costs are extremely high, and this would be something that would take a lot of partnerships with a lot of different players to get it right.
Yeah, it's an exciting project, but it's really going to take community buy-in in a big way. Not only people out there rah-rahing for it, but people out there writing big checks to help fund the darn thing, imagine.
Well, that's exactly right. The big elephant in the room is how we're gonna pay for it.
Yeah,
You know, the
Agreed.
previous boards, we've all wanted it, but it's the funding that is a challenge.
that pretty
So
much
if you're out
covers
there
all the questions
listening,
that have
if
been.
you're out there listening, talk to Walter after this. We'd love to, with your big checkbook. We'd
Yeah.
love to.
Send them to Walter Cook. That's COOKE.
Walter,
So-
just to piggyback on what they're saying, though, you know, it's something that has been researched by many boards. It's something that we've seen a lot of different plans in that, but there's a lot of I's got to be dotted, a lot of T's got to be crossed. But how exciting would it be to be able to have, before our 50th anniversary is over, this project hopefully announced and rolling forward? If everything lines up, you know, that'd be great to see. And as just speaking for me, that's something that I think is a legacy project that, you know, Sterling Ridge was created on our 25th anniversary, hence the name Sterling. So on our 50th anniversary for a Performing Arts Center, it would be extremely exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Well, that's Ted. That's pretty much all the questions I've got. Do you have some more to add to the mix?
Well, I just want to, so what Walter did, rather than just read the questions verbatim per se, he kind of brought it about to you guys. So we actually covered all the topics, but I wanted to weigh in on something that Director Bailey said earlier about the President's Council, because we do have a question on there from a previous village president that said, how is the village association President's Council working out? From my perspective as a president of a village, I think it's working out great. I thought it was a great idea. We meet on a monthly basis. There's a lot of active input, if you will. So we all have good discussions, and we have 2 directors there and typically 2 staff members there. So it was a great idea. And from my perspective, it's working out very well.
Yeah, well, thank you. And Director Franks, really, this was something that he felt very strongly about, that it would allow more people to be engaged, allow the villages to have more representation, and firsthand being able to have you all collaborate as a group. It's been a win-win.
Yeah. And one of the attendees said to thank you all for your service. He thanked you for your service, as do we. We really appreciate the fact. Walter and I both know from our previous history, having been on the predecessor boards, that it's not a glamorous job per se, and it takes a lot of time. And particularly now in the model that we have on the township board, we know you guys put in a tremendous amount of hours in research and working and just dedicating yourselves to the community. So we truly do appreciate that. And I want to give you just a minute, if you will. Can you talk about anything that may be already planned, or any of you actually, not just Ann, but anything planned specifically for the 50th anniversary yet? I mean, has any of that actually been formulated?
Hopefully by the end of December, we will be able to give more finality to what's going to happen. Right now, can say that every month we'll have a topic, be it education, be it environment, healthcare, and that the township will accent through community events. We will, on the 19th of October, have a community-wide event that we hope the entire Woodlands residents and children will participate in. There's discussion on several other big items in October, and we don't quite have all the pieces to the puzzle put together yet, if I may say that, but hopefully we will be able to share that shortly. But it's exciting. It's exciting to celebrate 50 years.
I just tell you, we're working hard at it. There's a lot of players that are playing in it, but when George Mitchell opened the Woodlands, he had Alabama play. And I forget who else had when he opened the Woodlands. when they open the pavilion,
Frank Sinatra.
it's Frank
opened the pavilion.
Sinatra Pavilion. So we're looking at doing something as grand as that. That's just as
Yeah.
good, and that the community be, you know, I like to say we don't half-ass it in the Woodlands. We're gonna do it right. So we're gonna have some good stuff planned.
It'd have to be George Strait to get to that caliber.
It's not George Strait.
Yeah. So let me ask you one question, Director Bailey, because we talked about Visit the Woodlands, and we talked about earlier how important it is for the sales tax revenue that we receive throughout the Woodlands. It offsets what would typically be our property tax coming in to cover the expenses. Anything big happening from a Visit the Woodlands standpoint for 2024? Or we were in, my wife and I were at the Marriott this past Friday, and typically we'll go in there and get wings and a beer, and sometimes it's just us sitting in there. That place was packed. There were multiple weddings going on, there were multiple parties going on, and I know it's the season, but it was just amazing to see that many people in there, and it was incredible, and it was a good feeling. But so we know it's working. But anything big coming up in 2024 as it relates to economic?
We've got some great groups and conventions coming in. One stands out as the Texas Travel Alliance is coming in. That's the biggest trade group in Texas, is coming to the Woodlands to see the Woodlands firsthand. They're going to be here for 3 or 4 days, and it's going to be a huge opportunity for us to really kind of highlight what makes us special. A lot of meeting planners are in on that, so they're planning massive events. As I said earlier, our hotel occupancy taxes are up over 12.3%. You know, we're through November 30th, we've generated $8.8 million in hotel occupancy taxes. That's remarkable, and it's something that really brings a lot to our town. Our goal is to get that over $10 million. We hope, but there's a lot of great events that not only just benefit visitors that come here, but you know, our pavilion, for example, is an incredible. You know, it's one of the great things that we have here in the Woodlands. It's something our residents enjoy and our visitors enjoy, and it helps really bring unique perspective and the arts to our community. So that's exciting. You know, hopefully we have a performing arts center that's moving forward. I think being able to add that to our existing arts programs that we have at the pavilion. Imagine just all the shows that you have that would be able to go, you know, in a conditioned space that wouldn't be, having inclement weather and things like that. So we're also working hard with the pavilion on expanding their time frame. Last year, I think they did 42 shows. This year, they're slated for doing 48 shows. And you know, how we can get those up to 60 shows. I personally have been lobbying for the fall is the best time for concerts. October, November, way better than June, July, and August here. So could we do some things there? But also just in the 6,500 seat closed area, could we do concerts like comedians or those type concerts instead of just musical concerts? Speaking series, lecture series. One of my goals is to get a TED Talk here in the Woodlands that would be able to highlight some of the leadership things that we're doing. We've got an incredible team at Visit the Woodlands, and Nick Wolda and Elizabeth Edens are truly remarkable. The team works excruciating hard. Some of the best in class. My real job, I run marketing and communications and government relations for a large engineering and construction firm. But I can tell you the team that we have here in the Woodlands is top notch. Not just Visit the Woodlands, but also the Township. Monique Sharp and her team have done an outstanding job, and it takes all of us because I think the biggest surprise to me in this job is how much time it does take. It takes a lot of time. I think I talk to Ann and Kyle more than I do my own wife. But it's a lot of work, but it's worthy. We're seeing a lot of pelts. We're able to put a lot of pelts on the wall. And I think that seeing the excitement that grows around that, seeing a new director and Cindy Heiser come on board is going to be very, very good. She's going to do a great job. Bob Milner, who's someone that I didn't know at all coming into this, retired. I really enjoyed serving with Bob. Bob was a great director and a very, very honorable man who's put service above self. So I commend him, and just really excited to have Cindy on the board. I think she's going to bring a new perspective and a good perspective.
Well, thank you. Anything else, folks?
Well, I think we would be remiss if we did not mention some of the accolades that we received in 2023. One, we were by niche.com, best place to raise a family in America. Number 2 for that. Number 1 as the best place to live in 22, best public schools. Number 6 out of 228, best place to retire. Our public schools were given an A+, as well as our job opportunities and family-friendly environments. We were designated by Keep Texas Beautiful as a Gold Star affiliate and efforts to improve the environment. I think we all know how important that is. We also received the National Gold Medal Award, the Grand Plaque for Excellence in Parks and Recreation. We were named Agency of the Year by the Texas Public Pool Council. Also received the Outstanding Public Education and Outreach Award for our Recycle program, as well as received selected as one of the best suburban neighborhoods you should totally move to. And the township was recognized for by the Texas Forest Chapter for our outstanding community forestry program. And last but not the least, we were rated, let me say rather than rated, we earned the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award and Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association, placing us in the top 2% in the country. And that goes with the comments that both Kyle and Brad made about our incredible staff. All of those awards and certificate of achievements are really because of our commendable staff and leadership.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no doubt. And none of that is surprising. We do live in one of the greatest communities on earth, and we really do have an appreciation for that. And again, we appreciate the service that you guys do on the township board, as well as your co-directors as well. All 7 of you do a terrific job, and we really appreciate it. And the Woodlands is the Woodlands, and it's a special place because of the effort of not only the 7 of you, but so many people throughout the community. So we thank all of you who attended tonight to watch our presentation. We certainly thank our guests, our distinguished panel of guests, and congratulate them on a job well done for the Woodlands and the state of the Woodlands. It seems superb and very sound, so we appreciate that. Watch for us to come out with more speaker series next year. Follow us on Facebook, Township Future on Facebook, and townshipfuture.org on our website. So with that, we wish you all a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to you, happy Hanukkah, and happy holidays to everyone. And again, thank you all very much for joining us, and thank you to our panelists.
Thank
Walter,
you so much. Thank
take
you.
us out, my
Good
friend.
night.